Well, here in the shop today, not on the truck. Got the Subaru out here. Doing an oil change on the old girl today. This thing gets a lot of miles put on it during the week. This old girl gets a lot of miles put on it during the week. Probably goes about 100 kilometers, 110 kilometers a day, give or take. So oil changes go pretty quick in this car. And we always just put whatever the cheapest in is, just because it goes by so fast, so we don't really see any point now. But today is going to be a little bit different because we've had this car now for about a year, give or take, I think it is. It's got about 280,000 kilometers on it, and we have no idea the last time there was any transmission fluid changed in this thing or the filter was replaced on it. So what I'm doing today, it seems to have a bit of a flare-up. I don't know if you really want to call it that, but when you're driving down the road and you're accelerating, it kind of like, it does it the most when you're like at a stop. So if you're just kind of like coasting to a stop, and then you put on the accelerator, it kind of does like this weird, like real quick takeoff, and it kind of catches you and it kind of throws you back, and it's not normal. So between the unknown of the oil or the fluid, the kilometers on it, and that weird shifting, I figured, hey, got the car up already for doing an oil change. Let's look at the transmission. And the nice thing about Subarus is that everything is really easy to get at. So to do the flush that I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the filter, which you can see right there, and I'm actually going to pull the pan today. I'm going to drop the fluid from the bolt, and then I'm going to drop the pan. You don't have to drop the pan. Usually, you know, if you keep up on your oil changes or for your transmission or whatever vehicle, you normally don't have to worry about dropping the pan. Because like I said, it's unknown on this one. I don't know what it's like. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be dropping the pan. And when I drop the pan, then I can clean the pan out and see how much material is inside and see if it's like excessive or if it's normal. Like I said, it's got 280,000 kilometers on it. It's a 2006. So, I mean, it's not super high mileage, but, you know, I'm still curious to see what it looks like inside. So I'm going to get some tools. I'm going to get set up, and then I'll set you guys up so that you can see what I'm doing and see what things look like. And once I have that, I will bring you back. Okay, so I'm just going to set you guys up under the car. Trying to get a good view here for you guys without ending up splashing my camera. All right, so drain plug is right there. Oil filter is up top in there. Oh man, Hercules was under here last. All right, need a wrench and a hammer. Oh, Jesus. All right, breaker bar. Go. I don't know why that was on there so tight for it. Didn't make that tight. So when I checked the dipstick up top, the fluid didn't look bad. It still looked pretty red, so the fluid wasn't as much of a concern. But we will see what it looks like coming out of the pan. It's pretty brown. That is, yeah. That is definitely some fluid in need of a change. Trying to get as much of this out as I can so that when I drop this pan, it's not going to make too big of a mess on me. And I would say by how brown that is, it's probably going to be changed or pulled down. Yeah, there's material on the bottom of that. All right, close that up. Don't need that anymore. Now, there is a lot of bolts on this. They look like they're probably 10 mil. Let's just try 12. Nope. I want to be 10. Yep. And now the fun. This is one of those times when you wish you had it lift. Luckily, it's not too bad when you have it lifted up like I do. Now I am hoping that I got enough of the fluid out, because this is on a bit of a backwards angle, that I don't end up wearing it. But if you've ever changed transmission fluid, you'll know that no matter how hard you try, and no matter what you do, it will normally end up either on you or on the floor. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Sounds pretty empty, so I'm not overly concerned about wearing it, but you just never know. Lots of dirt under here. It was, I think, in the winter last year, it was leaking a little bit. And I can't remember if it was the pan or if it was the filter, but something on here was leaking last year. I haven't pulled the filter yet, but I'm going to do that after I pulled the pan off. What I'm hoping is that my battery and my impact is good enough that I can just zip these out. So, grab that and be right back. So, typical fashion, when you want to use your power tools, the battery's always dead. So, what I'm going to do is let the battery charge. Once I have it charged, then I'm just going to zip the pan off, pull it out, and then bring you back and show you what the pan looks like. Clean that all up, drop the filter, assemble it. It uses RTV for the pan, so I have some black RTV around here that I'll use for that, get that set. But I'll show you all that once the battery for that is charged. So once that's charged, I'll bring you guys back, and then we'll finish this job off. So you remember when I was telling you earlier that when you're pulling transmission pans, you'll either end up wearing it on you, in you, or all over the floor? There's my point. exactly that. The pan is down, you can see, and as usual, the transmission fluid always ends up all over the floor. So just grab the pan here, and then we'll just put it on here. And so if you look, you can see it's brown, and you can actually see that this pan is actually pretty clean. Like, it's got some debris in the bottom, but it's actually in really good shape. Both the magnet and the bottom of the pan, there's almost no material in the bottom of this pan. So either the transmission fluid has been changed in this thing at some point in its past, or the transmission is just in really good shape. You can see that fluid is awfully brown, so the fluid did need to be changed. So I'm going to clean the transmission side, clean the pan side, clean the pan out, clean that all up. New RTV on the pan. You can just use your good old-fashioned Optimum black gasket maker. There's gray, there's black, it's whatever it is. I prefer to go black or the gray, but it doesn't really make much of a difference. While I'm here, this is the Wix 51365. That's for the transmission filter for this thing. That'll go in once I'm done and have that going. So what I'm going to do again, clean out that pan, get it all cleaned out. Once I have it cleaned out, ready to go back in, then I'll show you guys from there what's going on after. Well, I had intentions of showing you sort of cleaning up the pan a little bit and getting that all ready to go back under the car. Unfortunately, I got a little distracted and then got a little forgetful. And then I was like, oops. But you can see the mess down there. And then we come under here, back under the car, under the transmission. You can see the pan is all back in. And you can see there's all new RTV. It's just a little tacky. So basically, all you do for that, to reseal this pan, once you have it all cleaned, after I was done wire wheeling and scraping it, it was a little scratched up, so I put some black paint on it just to keep it clean. There is a gasket you can get for these, but the better choice is just using RTV. And then all you do is you run like 1/4 inch bead or slightly bigger around the entire edge of the pan. You put it on, and then when you put it on, you tighten up your bolts just snug. You don't want them tight, you just want them snug, so that what happens is the RTV has a bit of a gap, so it can sort of form or make like a gasket, if you will. And then if you have time, you wait 30 minutes to an hour, let it get a little sticky and a little tacky, which is kind of where we're at now. So if I touch it, it's a little rubbery. And at that point, then you can tighten all your bolts and it's good to go. And everything should be sealed. An easy way to tell when you're using this material or this stuff, if you've used enough, is you'll get a nice little line just kind of poking around the entire perimeter of whatever it is that you're sealing. If you do it and it comes out in a big glob, then you've put too much on. So always just remember that you just want to see just a nice little fine line kind of sticking out all the way around, because whatever you see sticking on the outside is generally what you'll see on the inside. And you don't want huge amounts on the inside, because if it comes off or falls off, then it's in the pan, or it can get mixed around and shuffled around and plug lines and stuff. So you always want to make sure you use enough, but not too little and not too much. You learn where there's a balance in there, and learning that balance takes time and it takes experience, but you'll usually get there. So because this is now tacky, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be tightening the bolts, and then because the car is currently up on jack stands and not on the ground, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten the pan, lower the car, put the front belly pan on, and then check the oil, because I did that today, make sure that's good. And then I'm going to start putting fluid back into the transmission. Now, on these cars, be aware that there is 2 fill spots. One is for the front differential, one is for the front transmission. If you're standing in front of the car and looking at it like this, over in the backside down there, you'll find a yellow dipstick. That one is for the differential. Over on this side, down in there, is one for the transmission. Now, you can see there's a yellow plug down in there. The light might be a little too bright, but there's a plug down in there, which is for the differential. And then if you look on this side, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Like right down in there is another yellow plug, and that's the one for your transmission. So I'm gonna get everything tightened down, get it back on the ground, and then I'll show you where and how to fill the fluid on this. All right, so getting ready to just finish this up. The car's back down on the ground. Got 4 quarts of fluid. Probably going to take 4 to 4.5, as most people said. For this car, the 2006, takes the red ATF HP fluid. It's also, as you can see on the label, it's also their power steering fluid. So works for both in this car. Now, we have to refill this, and it gets to be a bit of a challenge. So if you're going to be doing a fluid change in this type of a car, get yourself one of these guys. It's a very long filter, and the nice thing about it is that it comes apart in pieces, so it makes it easy. And then if you look down there, you can see that yellow handle. That's the transmission dipstick. So if we pull that out, we'll clean it off. Now, when you look at this, you probably won't be able to pick up on it. We'll see. You can see that there's 4. Let's see if I can get some better light on this. Yeah, so you can see that there's 4 dots on that dipstick. The 2 on your left are the cold, the 2 on your right are hot. And basically what you want to do when you're filling this up after it's been sitting and all drained is you want it to basically land right in the dead smack of those 2 on the cold side. And then when the vehicle is running and you get it up to temperature, which is basically going through the gears, so park, reverse, neutral, etc., and back and forth a couple of times, and then you go for a drive and come back and stop, it then should be between the 2 half marks on there. So what we do is I'm going to take my silly long funnel, poke it down through here, and it goes into the tube, and now I can fill it up with fluid. If you look, you can see how nice and cherry red that is, not brown. Now, because there is fluid in the torque converter and everywhere else, that's why when you do this process, you'll fill it and then you'll go and drive and 200, 300, 400, however many kilometers. I usually do about 500. And then you drain your fluid and fill it again. And then what you're doing is you've mixed the good with the bad and you've diluted it. So when you drain it and refill it, you will then be putting new fluid in, and hopefully after 1 or 2 of those, you'll have good fluid in the transmission. So now that I've just put one in, just checked underside, make sure that there's nothing leaking and I don't see anything. So I'll put another one in. I can hear it landing in the oil pan down there as I'm pouring it in. Now, because I did do the filter on this, it's probably going to take just slightly more than 4. Probably take closer to 5, but we'll see. I picked up a lot. I think I have like 8 quarts, 10 quarts or something again for this. Check the bottom side again, make sure nothing is leaking. Everything still looks good, so we'll keep pouring. Keep your empties because they work good for when you need to get rid of your old oil. All right, that's 4 quarts in. So now we're gonna pull the dipstick out and try and not make a mess down there. Now let's see where we're at. So we're showing we're way high. That's also because we just poured all that fluid in. Time. We're still showing we're way high, so we'll let it settle for a minute and then let it settle. And then we'll come back and read it. Okay, so I started the car so that I could check the oil because I changed that. Oil's good. If I pull out the dipstick now for the transmission and I look at it, it's going to be hard to tell in this light, but it's just at the top of the cold mark. So good there. Stick it back in the hole. And now comes the fun part. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the car out for a drive and we're going to drive it around for a little bit, get it up to temperature, bring it in, park it, go through the gears. And then we're going to check the fluid again and see where it's at. If it needs some fluid, we'll add it. If not, we'll be good. When we're checking after we've done for a drive, what we want to look for is it being in the middle of the hot marks. So I'm going to take it for a drive, and then once I get back in the shop, I'll check it and show you guys where that's all at. Okay, so I took it out for a little spin. You can see there's just a little bit of fluid on the bottom and nothing along the hatch marks. So this thing still needs a lot of fluid left in it. So basically from here, it's just fill, check, repeat, fill, check, repeat until it's up to where it needs to be. Once it's at its point of where it needs to be, then it's done and you're good to go. Doing a quick little drive in it. I don't feel the flares that it would have when you'd stop, so that's a good sign. I'll know more when my girlfriend is driving it and she gives me feedback on it and lets me know in this week to see if it's fixed it or helped it. But yeah, you know, transmission fluid flushes on something like this, it's not hard. Don't feel daunted or overwhelmed by it. Just grab some wrenches, get the supplies, and just do it. It's pretty easy to do. So if I can do it, most people can do it. It's, you know, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 3 or 4 to do. Sealing the pan is probably the biggest deal, and making sure that your oil filter's on tight. Other than that, give her, have a good time, enjoy working on a vehicle and not having to fork out a bunch of money to have someone do this. So yeah, for now, I'm done, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.